I'm talking to people who are saying that they get calls from people claiming to be Coinbase saying like, there's a problem with your account and I'm going to need you to transfer that over to another Coinbase account, go to this, and it's going to be a fake website, go register. And there's people have been caught. I talked to an actual victim who got 100,000 in Bitcoin stolen from him. And that's all he had in Bitcoin. He had 100,000 and he got phished like that. And they even gave him a number, like call us back when this is done. He called them back and he said, yeah, Coinbase answered the phone. And that's when I knew like, yeah, okay, okay, you got tricked because Coinbase doesn't pick up the phone. And, and then the QR codes. So people are taking, every time you go out to a restaurant and, they require a QR code to get a menu, for example, like the COVID type style things. I always take like, a penny or something, and I'm making sure like any QR code I scan is not a sticker, because somebody could take a sticker and put over it, and then you go and scan it, and what it does is it's gonna use software to steal information from you, but then go to the menu. It'll actually forward you. So you as a user scan it and you get the menu of Buffalo Wild Wings, for example, and you have no idea. You just got to the menu, so you're thinking everything's cool, but there was a step in between there that they may have forwarded you to a site that's loaded you with malware or taken information from you. I even talked to somebody, and this was actually out of the UK, where they went to park their car. And so you park your car, then you go over and you scan a QR code, and then you make the payment. So they paid their something like 25 pounds, and then they got back to their car, and then they had a ticket. And it turned out that somebody had put a sticker over the QR code, so people were actually paying. It was going to somebody else, not the, and they got, I guess, for a couple hours.
Welcome to Only the Savvy. Today we are thrilled to have a very special guest returning to the show, Mark Kreitzman from eFani, a leader in mobile security and SIM swapping protection. Mark, thank you for joining us again.
Absolutely. Happy to be back and ready to go.
Your insights have been invaluable to our audience, so we're excited to dive even deeper into the critical issues surrounding cybersecurity, recent trends, and actionable solutions for staying safe in this fast-paced world of crypto. And to our viewers, don't forget to check the description for our affiliate link to learn more about eFani's incredible services. It could be your first step in protecting your digital assets. So let's get started. Mark, for those who missed your previous appearance, can you share a little bit about yourself and what does eFani do and just a better understanding of your mission?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Mark Kreitzman, and I am, in terms of cybersecurity, might call me a journeyman at this point. I've been I've worked for telecoms now, either for a telecom or partnered with them for probably over 25 years. And I've been in cybersecurity since around 2001, both enterprise and consumer. The last 9 or 10 years have been dedicated to mobile security. And so that's sort of my thing right now. And and in addition to that, I like playing golf, and I like investing in crypto and Bitcoin and play around with that as well. But and then in terms of eFani, one of the reasons eFani got started, speaking of crypto investing and mobile security, is that back around early 2018, I actually got SIM swapped, and my mobile account was stolen away when I was in the middle of the desert in Arizona, and I got at least one Bitcoin stolen at that time. So I try not to do the math of what it would be worth today in terms of the specifics, just because it was rough. But I got mobile hacked, and I looked to see if somebody had solved this. All I could find was reactive solutions, but I did find one person who said he solved it. I contacted him. He also happened to be into crypto and was part of a small group building out one of the largest Bitcoin ATM networks. And we sort of hit it off, and it was really a one-man show and sort of a side project of his. And I said, this is what I do. I help people build companies. We've been building eFani now. Since then, we've been profitable for a couple of years, and we're growing. As crypto grows, we grow. As all these data breaches grow, we grow. And so eFani's very simple. We sell what we call a secure mobile service. We're set up to resell AT&T and Verizon, but we add in SIM swap security. There's some privacy related to that, and we back it up with a $5 million insurance policy. So most of the people that buy us, they buy us because they want to make sure their mobile account can never be stolen away, which you can use to reset passwords.
Thank you for that introduction, Mark. It's inspiring to see the work you and eFani are doing to combat these growing threats. Now let's jump into the current state of cybersecurity in crypto space. 2024 saw $2.14 billion stolen in crypto hacks, nearly 500 million in SIM swapping attacks, and 834 million lost to phishing scams. Why are these cybercrimes escalating so rapidly, especially in the crypto industry?
Yeah, so you can imagine that's just the crypto space too. So you can imagine what the total amount would be. But the just over $2 billion was basically hackers taking advantage of weaknesses in DeFi platforms. So they were hacking into the back end or using different tricks to get information from employees and basically we're hacking into the DeFi platforms themselves. The over 800 million was from tricking people, basically. The malware, and it happens so many different ways. We could have a call. We could probably do an hour, interview just on all the tricks that they use. So I talk to victims all the time and learn on, how they're getting tricked. But that's for getting tricked with whether it's malware, phishing attacks, impersonation. That's a huge number in crypto. The 500 million that was lost as a result of SIM swaps, just to clarify that. So 400 million of that was from an FTX SIM swap hack. And that actually happened, I believe, in December of 2023, but they didn't report it for many months. So it shows up as a hack in 2024. But that's 400 million. And there was another hack that was somewhere, I think, around 45 million. And the rest of that is just individuals getting SIM swapped. And a lot of people, and I don't know if I said this on the last call, but if the majority of people are crypto, they probably remember that the SEC announced the Bitcoin ETF early. And what that was somebody at the SEC, whoever controlled the X.com account, got SIM swapped. And then the hackers actually posted that. And then Bitcoin went up over 1,000 and then dropped down a couple thousand. So you can imagine the hundreds of millions that were won and lost that day based on that. So these SIM swaps are, they can affect more than just you as an individual. They can affect people that are executives at your DeFi platform, at your bank, your doctor. And so we all have to be careful.
Those numbers are staggering and really highlight how critical cybersecurity has become in this space. Speaking of which, let's focus on one of the most alarming threats, which is SIM swapping. SIM swapping is one of the most dangerous forms of attack, costing FTX users 400 million, as you mentioned, in 2023. Can you explain how SIM swapping works and why is it so devastating, particularly for crypto users?
Really. So I'll start with helping educate people on what a legal SIM swap is so that you can understand what an attack is. So because everybody that has mobile phones has done a SIM swap or what's also called a SIM port. So if you have an iPhone 11 today and you go to the store, you buy an iPhone 15, you get it set up, and then you're going to tell the store most likely, like, oh, can you move my service from my 11 over to my new 15? And then they do that, and you walk out of the store, and your iPhone 15 is working great. That is a legal SIM swap. You're swapping your service from one phone to another. So what hackers are doing is they're doing that same thing, but they're moving it from your iPhone 11 over to a phone that's in their hand. And now they have control. So your phone is bricked in terms of mobile. You can't text, you can't call, nobody can call you, your data's not going to work because it's working on somebody else's phone. Now they could be your next door neighbor or live above you, below you, but they could also be thousands of miles away. And there's cases of where People have done this from overseas to attack you. And now the way that they're doing this is there's a couple different ways. So one is they either bribe an employee to make this SIM swap happen. They have an insider that they're partnering with, and that insider helps them fake a verification or possibly even change their verification information. So when the hacker calls in, they're actually saying all the right answers and then get verified. And so this can be set up as an inside deal. And there have been employees arrested in 2024 for insider rings doing this. And there's actually one of the carriers, they had SIM swap. I probably get the numbers wrong, but it's something like they SIM swapped a number of people and stole like something like 122 million. But it was some ridiculous amount until they finally got busted. So that's the insider part of it. Now, what they can also do, because of all these data breaches, like National Data Group got breached, and I can go into those details if you want me to, but all these data breaches, basically our privacy as a U.S. citizen's done. We don't have any anymore. And so they can learn enough about you where they can then call your carrier and then impersonate that they are you. And they can trick that 800 person, the support rep. And once they believe and confirm and verify that you're that person, then it's like, okay, how can I help you? It's like, oh, I got a new phone, so I'd like to switch my line over to my new phone. And then there's like different kind of tricks. Like I don't want to get into all the different tricks because I feel like I would be creating all these new SIM swappers when people realize how easy it is. But another one is a lot of people don't realize that the carriers have your social security number. So in a sense, you've opened up a line of credit with the carriers. So they can go into a store and say, like, I want to buy a phone off my account. And if they can get verified, then they can then say also, I want to add another line. And they could walk out that store with a phone and a line in your name that's on your account. And then they go to somewhere private, call the carrier and say, oh, I just bought a phone and a line in the store. And what I'd like to do is move my old line over to my new phone. And so now, and they're when they call in, they're calling from a phone they bought from that carrier. They're calling from a line that's on your account. So verification becomes much easier. One of the big hacks that was early last year was Bart Stevens. Bart Stevens, he was the CEO of a big Bitcoin venture, and he got hit for 6.3 million or 6.5 million on that style of attack. And that's a likely one. A lot of times when I'm talking to victims, when they call in and say, "Hey, I'm interested in your service. I just got SIM swapped." It's like, "Oh, did they happen to get in a phone in your name?" And they're like, "Yeah, but they did, and I had to go and cancel it." And I'm like, "Well, that's how they got you. They got a phone and a line under your name in your account, called back in, and as easy as that." So that's one of the faster going methods.
Wow. It's shocking how easily these hackers can use this method to take over someone's in digital identity. It's very scary. Now,
Yeah, well, once that hacker gets your line, now the AI tools are to the point where you can use sort of sales navigator type tools on LinkedIn to get one or two levels deep on somebody's data that's very basically public, and then they can use AI tools, which will then go search the white web, the dark web, and now they can get all the emails that are associated with you that you think may be private, but now the hacker has a list of the emails associated with you, possibly family members, all your landlines, your mobile numbers, all your addresses, all of that. They'll have information like emails and phone numbers that you haven't even used for, years and years. And so then they can, if they have your mobile number, now they can try and figure out what applications you use. And then they just go down one by one and say, password reset, password reset. And if it's a professional and they have enough time, let's say you're on a flight to Japan or you're playing golf or you're sleeping and they have enough time, even if you have an authenticator app, if they can get into your emails, they can potentially reset your authenticator app. So we've had victims that call us up wanting to get secured that have all kinds of, layers of security. And, and when it comes to crypto, it's really, the cold wallets are like, the best, but, we can save that one for later. But, yeah, once somebody has your mobile number, it's, there's certainly some damage they can do really, really quickly.
I could only imagine the amount of damage that can be done. Now, let's discuss how eFani is tackling some of these issues. How does eFani specifically protect users from SIM swapping, and what makes it such a valuable tool for people in the crypto space?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're set up again as a reseller of AT&T and T and Verizon. And so I'll compare how our service works when you buy AT&T directly from eFani versus direct from AT&T. So um, the mobile carrier industry has what I call the mobile API matrix. And what I mean by that is that all the resellers, wholesalers, all the carriers, we have portals into all the mobile accounts in the sense of being able to port somebody over. And so if you just give me 3 pieces of information on your mobile account, then I could pull that over from T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon over to eFani, and I don't have to talk to the carrier, and you don't have to talk to the carrier. And so that's the scary part about this is that the carriers don't have to double check anything. And so, once somebody like eFani or a nefarious person gets your information. And so what we do differently is when we port a customer over to eFani, we're unplugging them from that matrix. And so somebody can't just call up and say, I've got these 3 pieces of information, I want to port my number out. So, we operate manually from that point. So once they're ported over, we're sort of unplugging so their mobile service accounts lock down at eFani. And then everything we do from that point's manual, and it's an expensive way to operate. And so basically, every request is manual, every change is manual, and then if they want to do sort of a risky transaction, like let's say somebody wants to port out, we have 11 defined steps that they have to go through, and it's not meant to be difficult. It's just meant to ensure that the person making the request is actually the owner of the line. And then you, as the customer, can also, when you activate with this, can add a custom step. So you could add a passphrase, a PIN, or something special that you want. We have. It's rare, but we have some people that want a video call to be able to port out, and that's mainly like people from like Hollywood or professional athlete or somebody who's got really a big amount of crypto as an example. Um,
What does a video call entail? Could you give us an example of how that goes?
So it would mean that we would go through the 11 steps, and then we would have a call just like this. So I'd be looking at you. That would be the final thing, is that I would have to verify you with like social media, with any information that we had gotten you from on file when we did the activation or when you added that 12th step. And I'm not suggesting that people even need to do a video. It's very rare, but you can add a passphrase. You could add another email and say, I want you to email this account. But nobody's even made it in terms of like the port out. Nobody's even made it past, step 4 or 5. And so, and then we also provide a $5 million insurance policy. So the easiest way to describe our business is that we provide the 2 top networks in the US, and we have a $5 million insurance policy to protect. And because we're going to protect that from never being utilized, you're protected because in a sense, we're protecting ourselves because that's our business, right? That's our reputation. That's our business. And we want to make sure that it never gets utilized. And to this date, we've never had a SIM swap. In terms of other things that we do to secure ourselves, so we actually pay for 2 penetration tests per year. One of them is required by one of our Fortune 100 customers, and they actually picked the vendor. They wanted their own independent. And then every year we'll select a different pen test company. And these are organizations that you pay to come and try and hack you. So they try and break in digitally. They try and call up and SIM swap, and and then they provide a full report on that. And we do that because if there's an enterprise, say that's like, have you done a pen test? Like, okay, here's the pen test. But it's also for us. Like, we want people to find something if something exists. And also, another thing that we do or don't do is that we don't collect information. So we keep payment information in one encrypted silo. We keep verification information in another. And then even people within eFani, there's only a handful of people that can see one or the other. And then that number is even smaller for the people that can see both. And so, you can't hack and steal what you don't have. And that's one of the reasons why we don't collect any more data than that, because therefore, can't get stolen from us. And so we do everything we can to secure ourselves as well.
Wow, that's incredible, Mark. eFani is clearly making a huge impact. Now let's shift gears to another major concern: phishing scams. Phishing scams are becoming more sophisticated, often impersonating companies like Coinbase, like you mentioned before. What are some common red flags people should look out for to avoid falling victim to these type of scams?
Yeah, the phishing scams are off the charts, and now there's names like there's quishing for QR scams, QR code scams. But a couple examples would be your typical ones where they send you a link, and it's like your AT&T bill's 3 days late. It's going to be shut off. Click here, or we have a package, USPS, or Amazon. Your package has been waiting 3 days, and they want you to click on that, and I think they could deliver malware, which would go on your device and collect information, but also it can do things like execute code to grab things off your phone. So you click on that, and let's say it then does a query and says, this person has an iPhone 12 Pro, they're using T-Mobile, this is their IMEA ID, this is their IMSI ID, and anything else they can get like off the phone. And it makes it that much easier for them to be able to call the carrier, and then they could say like, "Oh, my name's Mark, and I lost my iPhone 12 Pro, and this is the device ID of that. I know I'm already calling the right carrier, and calling the right number, and I might even be able to spoof their number too." And so these kind of attacks make it easy for SIM swaps. All the data breaches. So, like just to cover a couple of those, there's been 47 major hacks in 2024 for one, and major meaning like there's hundreds and hundreds of actual data breaches, but 47 like in the major category. 9 of those were in December. So we ended 2024 in the worst month for data breaches. But the National Data Group, which does all the background checks for U.S. citizens, was hacked for 2.9 million records. There was a published there's a database published mid-year 2024 called RockU 2024 that included around 10 billion plain text passwords. And what this person did was they aggregated all of the data breaches of the last 20 years, put it into one file, and published it. And so a lot of people, don't change their passwords, and that's a very, very scary thing. The Snowflake data breach: 165 companies put their data up into Snowflake. That Snowflake's a data analysis type company, and AT&T was one of those. But Snowflake didn't do 2FA on security. And so a hacker found this out, and then they sent malware to the Snowflake users. So when they logged into Snowflake, they were recording passwords. They simply logged in and then stole data from tons and tons of customers. And so in terms of that's why malware is off the chart, because now you could use AI. You could profile people for one off of LinkedIn, get their contact information, look at the data breach. Now you can use AI type tools to pretend and attack 1,000 people in a day. And so malware happens through email, it happens through text, the phishing scams happens through email and text. But now I'm talking to people who are saying that they get calls from people claiming to be Coinbase, saying like, there's a problem with your account. and I'm going to need you to transfer that over to another Coinbase account. Go to this, and it's going to be a fake website. Go register, and there's people have been caught. I talked to an actual victim who got 100,000 in Bitcoin stolen from him, and that's all he had in Bitcoin. He had 100,000, and he got phished like that. And they even gave him a number, like, call us back when this is done. He called them back, and he said, yeah, Coinbase answered the phone, and that's when I knew, like, yeah, okay, okay, you got tricked because Coinbase doesn't pick up the phone. And and then the QR codes. So people are taking, every time you go out to a restaurant, and they require a QR code to get a menu, for example, like the COVID type style things. I always take, like, a penny or something, and I'm making sure, like, any QR code I scan is not a sticker, because somebody could take a sticker and put over it, and then you go and scan it, and what it does is it's gonna use software to steal information from you, but then go to the menu. It'll actually forward you. So you as a user scan it, and you get the menu of Buffalo Wild Wings, for example, and you have no idea. You just got to the menu, so you're thinking everything's cool, but there was a step in between there that they may have forwarded you to a site that's loaded you with malware or taken information from you. I even talked to somebody, and this was actually out of the UK, where they went to park their car. And so you park your car, then you go over and you scan a QR code, and then you make the payment. So they paid their something like 25 pounds, and then they got back to their car, and then they had a ticket. And it turned out that somebody had put a sticker over the QR code, so people were actually paying. It was going to somebody else, not the, and they got some, I guess, for a couple hours, they were getting people at 25 pounds a pop. So just be aware of the QR quishing scams. Quishing, Quishing, and I'm sure there'll be more. There'll be more names. They'll probably, AI phishing will probably get its own name. And
Is that what it's called now? Quishing for QR code? Quishing. Okay, that's yeah. Wow, it's frightening how convincing some of these scams can be, but the more people are educated, the better they can protect themselves. I wish I knew something like this in 2021, 2022, getting involved into this industry, because I did fall victim to one of these scams similar to what you were speaking about. And it's uh it's very scary how similar or a website can appear and it's just 100% fake. So please, everyone watching this, listen to Mark, do your research, watch out for some of these signs that can appear so that you don't fall victim to some of these scams. Now, you spoke about Snowflake. Let's talk about a large scale type of breach that also poses a huge risk. We've seen the massive breaches like the Snowflake breach, where over 100 million records were compromised. How do these events affect crypto users, and what steps can individuals take to minimize some of these risks?
yeah, absolutely. So the 100 million theft that you're talking about was actually just one customer on Snowflake. So AT&T was one of the companies that had put their data up into Snowflake, and what they did is they put around 110 million records, 110 million people's records onto their platform. And it was from the year 2022. But the breach happened literally like 7, 8 months ago. So that means a hacker got call records and SMS records for over 100 million people. So they have a list of who got called, who you called, who you texted, receiving texts. Um, now, Ticketmaster had data on there, Advanced Auto Parts, and State Farm, and others. So so we're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of records. But now, what a hacker could do, or any hacker, with call records, is that they could use an AI tool and just say, discover, like, who owns all these phone numbers and text messages for this particular person. So let's say they were to use this on all your call records, SMS records, and then the AI was able to go and say like, this one's George, this is Bill, this is Tom, this is Sarah. And now AI tools can, mimic chats or SMS. And so now you get an SMS that says like, hey, this is Sarah. I haven't talked to you in a while, and I heard this about George, or something, and start something to make you believe that they're them, and to use that to try and extract information from you. And so that could get as nefarious as they wanted. And so anytime call records and things like that get released, it's in that kind of mass, it's kind of scary. But yeah, we're just seeing the beginning of potential of AI. We played around with a lot of the AI tools. We built avatars. We've done voices. I've done my voice a couple different times to see how accurate it would be, and we actually tested some real life call attendants where you could actually have a conversation with one of them. So you could call and let's say we set one up as we didn't do this, but we could set one up as like an eFani's sales agent, for example. And then you call and it's going to be like, hey, this is Amy, and a nice female voice, and you could actually have a conversation with it. So AI is getting pretty good at doing that. And so, it's only a matter of time before the voice can be really, really perfect, that the tone, that it can mimic exactly how that person speaks. And so they could actually have a live call with you at some point in the future. And you're going to think it's me because it's going to mimic my behavior. It's going to scrape like all the YouTube videos I've done or all the ones you've done to mimic your behavior. And then how long until like video where it could do that as well. So the future is it's going to be kind of crazy for cybersecurity.
No, it definitely sounds like it based on all of these different new examples here. These breaches highlight how exposed we all are, though, at the end of the day. It's clear that proactive security measures are no longer optional. So let's move on to some of the tools and strategies that can help us. For those new to cybersecurity, what are some essential tools like you mentioned cold storage, YubiKeys, or authenticator apps? How do they help protect crypto assets?
And so those are fun features, right? And then find my phone, find my tablet, things like that. But that can be used against you. And features like airdrop. So you just want to, there's a lot of videos where it's like top 20 settings on an iPhone or an Android, or top 15. So I'd advise everybody to go look at one of those and just go through. It has to do with like, make sure your airdrop is turned off unless you need it. Make sure that for your Wi-Fi settings that it always asks you if you want to connect to that Wi-Fi, because one of the methods somebody can get you is they could set up a Wi-Fi router that with no password, but it has software loaded on it to extract information from you. So as you're walking down the street, or you go into a coffee shop, or it's your next door neighbor, your phone, if it's on auto connect, could auto connect to it, and they grab a couple bits of information off of it. So settings on your phone, and then also proper usage, not clicking on text, not opening images that you don't know exactly who they're coming from, because you can hide what's called a pixel inside of an image that could be like that actually logs your device IP, and now they can track you. And you click on a link, somebody sends you a link that says like, hey, check out this restaurant. It's only like a mile from you. It's great. You click on it and you actually get the restaurant. So you think this is cool, but what it's done, it's IP, it's logged something about your phone, and now they can actually watch you on their own map as you're wherever you drive. And so people can track you through that. So, in addition to that, VPNs, I use a VPN 100% of the time. And authenticator apps. So a lot of people, if you don't have authenticator apps, but your application allows you to set up an authenticator app, then it's not 100% secure, but it does help. It makes sure that the hacker is going to have to go through a couple extra steps. They're going to have to SIM swap you and get into your email to be able to reset that. Hardware keys, like a YubiKey, for example, very helpful. Now, in crypto, the authenticator apps and the YubiKeys are almost standard really across all of the crypto platforms. But, the carriers, your banks, a lot of 70% of the financial institutions have not even moved beyond SMS. And they probably don't want to, because if they required authenticator apps or had YubiKeys, imagine the customer support that they would have to pay for to now deal with these methods of people like, I lost my YubiKey, or my phone got stolen and I don't have the authenticator app. So, that's a lot of expense for like banks. And but anyone that's going to allow you to use a hardware key, that's going to be even much more secure than authenticator app. At eFani, you can use a authenticator app, or you can use a hardware key. You can do one or the other. If you do set up a hardware key, then that takes precedent. The authenticator app then is disabled, and so you can only use the YubiKey. And that means that if you want to log into your eFani account, you actually have to have that physical key to plug into your phone or your laptop, and that's great security. Beyond that, if you're a crypto user, then you have to learn how to do cold storage, a cold wallet. So there's, Ledger, Trezor, Tangent. There's a couple other ones, CipherRock, and if you're an advanced person and you like technology and you want the bells and whistles, then something like a Ledger device where you push a little button, you can see the balance, on the little LED display. And if you're somebody that needs, verification of that, one of the things for mass market and for people who are not technical, my own personal recommendation is the Tangent wallet. And Tangent came out with what's called a seedless setup. And so this right here is a Tangent ring. And so it's based on an app. So you download the app and you set up the account on the app. And through that process, it's going to say tap your card or your ring. And so you get two cards. If you buy the ring, you get a ring, you get this ring, and you get two cards. Or you can buy 3 cards or 2 cards. So you tap your card to your phone, and now it's assigned that card to your account. And then it says, okay, scan your second card, your ring. You tap it. Then, okay, scan your third. So I have, for one of my accounts, 2 cards and a ring. And if I want to go look at my Tangent account on my phone, I just open the app. I can either take a card and tap it to my phone, or I just put the ring up to it. You have to take the ring off, and you put the ring up to it, and it lets me into my account. And then you have a passphrase. And so it's super, super easy. It cannot be any more simple than this Tangent setup. And then there's no seed phrase. So instead of having to write down this complicated seed phrase and then store that in, a safe, or give it to your spouse or something, you don't have to do that. So basically your card and your ring becomes the authentication. And so I have nothing written down. I have memorized the passphrase, and it's something, I'll never forget. So all I have to do is have this ring and my passphrase. Now, I wouldn't go walking around in public, with the ring, traveling, around the world, because you just never know. But if I know that I want to access my account and I'm just going to go out to the mall or something like that, I like the ring myself because I just slip it on and it's easy to access. Cards, I'm somebody that forgetful. I could, if I left my card, like my wallet in the car, like I freak out about that kind of stuff, right? And if your wallet gets stolen, like your card's in there. And so I like having the option with the ring. But cold storage is for crypto users. Like, you have to learn how to do it. It's just something you got to do.
Yeah, no, it's not optional. But that is very valuable advice of what you just provided to our audience on the various different steps to protecting your assets and making sure that they're secure. But one area people often overlook sometimes, like mentioned, is their smartphones. Mark, with the recent introduction of the Trump meme coin reaching a market value of over $9 billion, there's a heightened interest in investing in such high profile cryptocurrencies, such as that right now. However, this popularity can attract cyber threats, including SIM swapping attacks targeting investors. How does eFani's security service protect individuals investing in trending cryptocurrencies like the Trump coin? And what specific measures should investors take to safeguard their digital assets?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And yeah, I think actually the Trump coin, I think at one point was like 12.6 billion, which is absolutely crazy. And so this is a good day to have the interview on. So this is sort of documented. Um, yeah, I mean, for investors, you want to make sure that you like sort of a repeat a little bit of what I said before is just when you're using your phone, just make sure you're using it in the most secure manner. Make sure you're not clicking on the wrong things, and use cold storage when you possibly can, and if you can't, use a YubiKey, and just make sure that every crypto platform that you're using, look at the authentication methods that they offer, and use whatever the most secure method is that they have available to you. And then also to remember that you don't want to have multiple methods. Like you don't want to have SMS verification and authentication, an authenticator app, and the YubiKey, because not all the platforms have got it all down, because somebody could SIM swap you, log in, and then go to your settings and then make that change, right? Pull out the YubiKey, for example, is out of the settings. I think most of them have it covered, but you just want to make sure. Beyond that, it really is the cold storage. Fani's going to help them in a couple different ways. So, for one, we're going to provide the SIM swap security. And so that's key, right? So for mobile hacking on crypto, the SIM swap is the number one threat through the mobile device, right? Because again, they take over your mobile account. They can use that to reset passwords. They may not even steal your crypto, and let's say that's totally stored away, but it makes you an indirect target, which means they may get into your iCloud. They may be able to see all the apps you have, so they could possibly get into like dating apps and things, business applications, take over your social media, take over like business accounts. And in fact, in 2023, one of the major DeFi platforms, one of the mid-level managers got SIM swap, and he was a tech guy. They used that to get into the back end of the platform and stole all the customer data. And they also deleted all the historical transactions. And that was, I don't know how much it cost them, but in terms of reputation as well, because people started moving their crypto off their platform. So the damage was, massive, and then they went and invested in, closing that gap. But these SIM swaps are key. But also the other sort of lesser known mobile hacks involve what's called SS7 protocol attack, and then IMSI catchers. And so the mobile network, as well as landlines, 3G and 2G are based on a protocol that's called SS7 that was built and published in the late 70s. And so this protocol is super old. It's what does all the call setups. Like when you call somebody, there's this SS7 protocol that's, okay, where is this device? What cell tower are they? Okay, they're in Sydney, Australia. Route the phone call to the SMS here. And this is a very vulnerable protocol. And so it's one of the reasons we only sell AT&T and Verizon is because they turn their network, their 2G and 3G network down. And so they don't use the SS7 protocol unless they're having to deal with like somebody who's roaming, or somebody were to call me and they're using T-Mobile, or they're using Mint or some other carrier that still has the 3G. It doesn't put me at risk. It just means they're at risk. But AT&T does not support, and AT&T or Verizon does not support 3G or 2G. So that eliminates this SS7 protocol attack. So if you're on a Fani, then that's helpful. Now an IMSI catcher is that's a homemade Stingray device. And the Stingray is a handheld unit that, the FBI would use, or SWAT teams, investigative people would use to get in between you and a cell tower. And they actually spoof that they're the cellular carrier. And that means your calls go through it and your texts go back and forth through the Stingray. And they would use this to like monitor like a drug den or something. or like, whatever they were, monitoring. Now, what somebody did years ago is they put do-it-yourself plans on how to build a stingray, and it's called an IMSI catcher. And so now anyone technical enough can go watch a YouTube video or website, and of course it's a disclaimer like this is illegal, don't do it, but here's how to do it. Same thing with like don't build a crock pot bomb, but here's how to do it. So you can build an IMSI catcher, and you could have that inside of an apartment building, and then you'd be able to spoof like any of the carriers, and then be able to potentially record phone calls and text messages. Now, what the IMSI catcher does is it gets in between your connection, which might be an LTE or 5G, and slows it to 3G or 2G. And so what it's doing, because LTE and 4G they're very secure protocols, but when they slow it down to 3G and 2G, you lose all of that security. And so that's how they can then get into the stream of your communication, like a text message. And so again, Verizon and AT&T have turned down their 2G and 3G network, and therefore the IMSI catchers, they would be able to get in between you and the cell tower, but when it's on LTE or 5G, it's just garbled. There's nothing they can do with it. And so, it's very rare, but somebody could go to the Bitcoin conference, with an IMSI catcher in their backpack, and go into that big conference room there where people are, watching the speakers on, and turn on a cell jammer and put the phones to sleep, and then release it, and then as people's phones wake up, the phones themselves have unencrypted communication to the towers. And so that unencrypted data can be collected like an IMSI number. And so all the phones wake up, and it's like, hello, I'm here. Is there cell towers? Here's nearby, like digitally, right? And so an IMSI catcher could sit there and collect that information. And they know you're at a Bitcoin conference, so you're most likely a Bitcoin investor. And so they could then reverse engineer that, and then try and figure out like who the individual is. And the IMSI number is the identifier of your SIM card or your eSIM. And what it tells you is what country they're from, what carrier they use, and then the personal identifier is the rest of it. That stands for you. So you'd be able to see that this person was from Australia, that they were using Telstra, and then their unique identifier. And so then they can't attack you right at that point, but they could use that to try and attack you later on. So those are a couple of the benefits you get from eFani, because of the fact that we're only selling LTE and 5G. One of the cool features that we enable, because we enable Wi-Fi calling and SMS globally for no additional charge. So like if you yourself were to go to London or Thailand or El Salvador, and you're an eFani customer, if you have a Wi-Fi connection, then you can call back to the US for free. You can text, and if somebody calls your eFani number, it's going to ring, and have fun talking to them. Get an SMS. You don't have to pay for it. But one of the new cool features we have is this dual SIM strategy, and we're utilizing a feature that comes with the iPhone 13 and above, and then also all the Samsung phones made in the last, really about the last 18 months. So I think it's the Flip 6, Flip 5. It might be that as low as the Samsung 24. We're gonna have to verify that, but we're utilizing this new feature built into the latest phones, where we actually provide you with a second SIM, a data SIM. And so you could travel around the world, and as long as you have that second SIM that's working and connected to your local cell tower there, then the Wi-Fi calling can work over that second SIM. So now, for no extra charge, you can now roam around the world, make calls, receive calls for the same price, which is $99 per month for our service, for everything that I've talked about: the service, security, Wi-Fi calling, $5 million of insurance. In addition, now we've got this dual SIM strategy, and we're making it even cheaper for somebody, because the alternative to that is for either a non-qualified phone that doesn't have this feature, or if you are with any other carrier is that you're pretty much paying $10 per day for this kind of service. And we're starting to add enterprises, and one of them is a unique profile, which is that they're small or mid-sized, but they have employees around the world. And those employees all require, U.S. mobile numbers. And so we're able to give an enterprise U.S. mobile numbers, and utilizing this dual SIM strategy, they can then communicate with each other for free, whether it's text, data, voice. And then for $15 extra per month, we can add World Connect plan, which means that you could go to Indonesia for 6 months. You have a U.S. mobile number. You're going to use voice, data, text, call back to the U.S. And then for an extra 15, you could actually call and text the entire world. And in those cases, we're actually saving people money, in addition to the security and the enterprise. And so we think that's going to be a nice growth area for us.
Absolutely. No, it definitely sounds like an amazing growth area. And the incredible practical steps that you provided before were extremely valuable too for anyone watching. So, for anyone who feels overwhelmed by all of this, eFani seems like a perfect all in one solution. I do have a question. What sets eFani apart from other mobile security solutions? And how does your security simplify protection for those maybe overwhelmed by the growing threats in the crypto space or just the growing threats in general that we're facing every single day?
And you move over to eFani, there's only one change that you have to make, and that's reset up your voicemail. That's the only thing you really have to do. The applications don't know you've changed anything. It will just simply work. And from that point on, you're using the AT&T network, and you can call and receive calls, text data, and all of that. And so, it can't be any more simple than that. And then in terms of getting your SIM swap security, our privacy, the $5 million insurance policy just comes with it. And again, there's nothing that you have to do in order to have that type of coverage. In addition to that, I think go back to like sort of an earlier segment of this conversation. Like I wouldn't want to repeat it again, but in terms of what sets us apart, like if you're an AT&T customer today, then your coverage, your speed, you're not gonna see a difference. You're actually going to get these extra benefits because when you travel overseas for a business trip or a vacation, we're going to give you free data for that trip. So that's going to be free from eFani. You're going to get this dual SIM capability. That's going to be free from eFani. So we're a little bit more expensive. So if you're already paying, let's say $80 for AT&T or 85 or 90, I mean, we've had people that have switched to us that have said that they pay like 110 on Verizon, for example. And so we're not asking you to like double up. You don't have to pay AT&T and pay eFani. So if you're paying AT&T today $85, then to come to eFani, you just take that same budget. It's now $99, and now you're getting the security, some privacy, the insurance policy, and then these roaming features if you happen to be somebody that loves going overseas like I do. Like I'm trying to make up lost time from COVID, being stuck. And so, in the last year, I've been in 7 different countries, and I intend to do the same thing this year. And I would not do that without eFani, because I'm a hack victim, so I would be paranoid every time I landed. Like if you land in Vietnam and you find out you're SIM swapped, you don't know the language. It's like, how do I get to a phone? You're going to call your carrier from overseas. That's going to be expensive. They're going to think you're the hacker because you're calling from overseas, calling from a different number. And that's something I never want to, experience in my life.
Absolutely. No one should have to go through that experience. If this is so, we have the last 5 minutes here before we wrap up this interview. And I'd like to ask you if someone watching this interview could just take one piece of information, one advice to improve their cybersecurity, what would you recommend?
Oh boy. If they're a crypto investor, then it's the cold storage. That is number one. And then once you do that, adding eFani, having a VPN, making sure you have the right features, and how you use your phone. That's a very, very key. Just in general for anyone, uh, you can do all those same steps, but just be careful about who you give your information to. And, things like, because one of the common mistakes is that somebody will set up an email and use that to set up their phone. And then they take that same email and they use that for their bank. They use it for cloud storage. They use it for Coinbase, their brokerage firm. And then they email friends and family and register websites using that email. And basically what you're doing is you're setting up bowling pins for these hackers, because now all I got to do is get into one email. And if there's a data breach and the other thing too is that to make sure you use multiple emails for like your different bills. And because a lot of people use the same email that they send emails out onto family friends, then they have their cable bill, their mobile bill, crypto in that same email. And then a lot of people will even use the same password. And so you don't have control whether let's say the mobile carrier gets hacked and they get your email ID and a PIN you used in that account. And then they go to your cable company, are you using the same email? And then use the same PIN, use the same, password. And so if that's the case, you're setting up bowling pins for them. So you want to just separate things out into different email that you use for various things. Keep your primary one, very, very secure. And do you use for bank or crypto? Don't use that to email friends, family, or anybody. And because that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen across people that end up getting hacked.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for this advice, Mark, and for helping us all feel a little safe. Before we end this interview, would you be able to let our audience know where they would be able to find you and seek more information about eFani?
Yeah. So for one, the link, I think that should be the link that they use. What's the link that we gave you? Yeah. Yeah. So post that link, make that available to people. I think it's eFani.com/savvy. And you want to use that because what we're doing is eFani is going out to different platforms, different influencers that educate people not only on crypto and investing, but how to maintain security. And so anyone who's doing educational type format to educate people on the crypto space, we're big supporters of the crypto space, huge supporters of data privacy. And so you want to use that affiliate link because you're going to get a $99 discount off of that. Now you can always find information, through that link, you'll be able to get information on our service and be able to sort of move around the website. If you were just to come to eFani.com, you won't get that discount. And so we like to know what platforms people are coming through, how they found out about us. So definitely use that. And then also the eFani website, eFani YouTube channel is really our main social media channel. And you'll see all kinds of thumbnails with me talking about threats of IMSI catchers and quishing and malware and SS7 and DNS hijacking, all that stuff that bore most people. And there's also I've done videos on, what is the safe plan? What's the price? How do you get out? There's some Q&A videos on there. So I'd say the YouTube channel is one, but then also the eFani.com/savvy link to make sure that you get the best deal.
Thank you so much, Mark. It's always a pleasure having you on Only the Savvy. And thank you for your time, your expertise, and for helping our audience navigate the complex world of cybersecurity. To our viewers, don't forget, check the affiliate link in the description to learn more about eFani and how they can protect you from threats like SIM swapping and phishing scams. And finally, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Only Savvy for more valuable content. Stay safe, stay savvy, and we'll see you in the next episode.